My name is Kofi, and I am here to tell you the story of how I lost my daughter and discovered a terrible secret in our town. Once, there was a rich woman named Madam Sawa who lived in our village. She was beautiful, wore the finest clothes, and owned the largest house. Everyone loved her and believed she was kind and generous. People thought Madam Sawa brought good fortune to our village because, wherever she went, money and gifts seemed to follow. She gave food to the poor, and whenever someone was in need, Madam Sawa was always there to help. But something strange was happening in our village. Every few months, a child would go missing. We searched everywhere but never found a trace of them. Some people said it was bad luck, others thought the children had wandered off into the forest and gotten lost. No one dared to question Madam Sawa because she was too respected, too adored. One dark night, my own little girl, Oma, didn't come home. She was only 6 years old, full of joy and laughter. We searched everywhere, the fields, the riverbank, the forest, but there was no sign of her. My heart felt heavy, but I couldn't give up. Oma was my only daughter, and I would not rest until I found her. Days turned into weeks, and people started telling me to give up, saying that Oma was probably gone forever. But I couldn't accept that. So, I decided to investigate on my own. I watched everyone closely, looking for anything unusual. Then one day, I noticed something strange about Madam Sawa. She always seemed to become richer and more powerful whenever a child went missing. Her house looked grander, and she seemed younger and stronger each time. That's when a terrible thought entered my mind: what if Madam Sawa was behind the disappearances? What if she was taking our children for her own gain? One night, I followed her. She left her house quietly, carrying a small lantern. I stayed hidden in the shadows as she made her way to an old, abandoned hut near the forest edge. When she went inside, I crept up to a window and peeked in. What I saw made my heart pound with fear and anger. Inside, Madam Sawa was holding Oma. My little girl was tied up, scared and crying. Madam Sawa was chanting strange words, preparing for something dark and evil. I realized, with horror, that she was planning to harm my daughter, to take her life and gain more power. I couldn't wait a second longer. I burst through the door, shouting, "Stop!" Madam Sawa spun around, surprised, but before she could react, I grabbed Oma and held her tightly in my arms. I ran back to the village with Oma, shouting for help. The villagers gathered around, confused at first, but when they saw Oma's tear-stained face and heard my story, their confusion turned to anger. We returned to Madam Sawa's house, and this time, the villagers demanded answers. She tried to lie, saying she was innocent, but no one believed her anymore. We found other signs of her dark deeds hidden in her home, things too terrible to describe. The truth was clear: Madam Sawa had been taking our children to keep herself powerful and rich. The people of the village were furious. They beat her and chased her out, banishing her from our land forever. She ran into the forest, and no one ever saw her again. From that day on, the village was safe. No more children went missing, and everyone kept a close watch over their loved ones. We all learned that sometimes, even those who seem kind can hide the darkest secrets. As for Oma and me, I held her close every day, grateful that I had saved her. And now, whenever people tell stories, they remember the evil woman who ate children to grow powerful, and the father who loved his daughter enough to bring her terrible secret to light.